Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm finally back in From the Depths, and it's after a latest release to version 2, which has brought about a lot more interest in the game due to various changes. Among them primarily is the performance increase, which means now that we can have very big fleets or very big ships and have the massed battles and massed Dakar of the old days. For those that remember the times when we had the turtles firing massive cannons and shells and filling the sky with ammunition and shells. So, I am back after a very long time away for various reasons, which I will not go into. But I'm hoping now to put a couple of videos up on the Netta campaign, which we have just started here, and used fairly hard settings without being too hard, but I'm going to put some of my own little restrictions on my game just to investigate all of the new options for version 2 and also to have a bit of fun. So, any suggestions are always welcome in the comments, and I will be trying to catch up on a lot of the comments and various videos as they come in. Comments from the past, I know have not had a chance to catch up on those, so I'll try to go back through history, but generally any new comments I'll try to reply to within a reasonable time. So how am I going to play this campaign? Well, in the past I have tried to create some fleets which were either small, very resource efficient, and or trying to exactly mimic some historical ships, and I do like that. But I think now with the new version, one of the things we can do is have very big ships. I'm not going to immediately build a very big ship, but I'm going to carry forward the concept of a mothership. So we'll have in the campaign, against each faction will be a mothership, which will be quite large, but it will contain and hold other sub-ships which make up the complete fleet, but they'll be set up as spawned ships rather than being just totally separate ships. Style will mostly change as I go through. Maybe some historical ships, some totally futuristic. We'll see what we're up against each time. Suggestions are good. I'm thinking at the moment possibly some steampunk style and or World War, early turn of 1900 century World War I type ships against the Deep Water Guard as a starting element, because they're relatively easy to defend against and to defeat. So maybe having some slightly less dramatic ships, less efficient, just to have a bit of fun in the early stages and to get myself back into the swing of doing videos. So you will have to forgive me a little bit whilst I get used to talking and explaining as I go along. So first stage though is going to be, let's rebuild this our home base. There's a lot of wasted resources, and I think I can do something a little bit better. Now I'm going to go into sandbox, but first of all let's have a look at what size this actually is. So if we look, we've got 17,000 resources and about 1900 to, let's say, 2000 blocks. So we're going to look for something in the same sort of region, so when I build it we can just basically take this apart and have it build from the remains of this particular starter fort. So elements we need to include are going to be some engines. The starter fort has these petrol engines in here, which are not necessarily that efficient, and I think we can look at some of the other alternative engines, such as steam would be nice. it has some storage capacity in oil and various blocks. It does have oil production, which it needs for its engines, so we need to ensure we've got some of that. And obviously defences. Defensively, let's see, what have we got? Big crammer cannon, yeah. Some general air-to-air style missiles, I think, but general missiles. I think they're infrared style missiles, and an advanced cannon. I think it's, let's have a look. I think it's relatively simplistic. Let me just bring up the screen and see what we can find out about this. I need to come off of pause mode, I think. There we go. So yeah, relatively based, I think. They're not that higher fire rate. Where's the ammo for it? I think it's down in the ammunition stores down here. Have we got an advanced? Yeah, there we go. Let's see, have a look at what it was. HE composite head, so a basic HE advanced cannon. So I'm sure we can reproduce some of those. So, oh, radar dish. Cannot forget the radar dish. Obviously need some to be able to see. And we do have the little ship over here, which we can get rid of. So how many points is that? We'll include this in our points area. So that's another 1,700 points, 1,700 resources. So we've got, yeah, a total of 20,000, I think, in general. Okay, now I'll do this. I did debate whether to build everything in game, and frankly, I'm not a very quick builder. I take my time. I want to try and make it look reasonable, and I just run out of time, and I get my arse handed to me by the enemy because they come in far too quickly. Even in the 2 hours which we've got, I think it's 1 hour or 2 hours before the Deepwater Guard get here first, I think I'd still most probably not end up building something which is as good as the starter fort, and I'd be prevaricating on little parts of the fort all over. So I think it'd be better for me to do this in Sandbox. So back in a minute once we're in Sandbox, ready to do a basic build, and we'll have a go through some of the more basic elements of building. Back in a bit. Hello and welcome back to my little design platform. This is my little modified build platform I have in the Sandbox mode, just so that I can basically build ships and various test items without too much in the way. So we'll go through a couple of items and design ideas, but also I'm going to do some work on some of the basic concepts where I can come across them. For those that are maybe new to this game and just want to look at how to start building, I won't do the very basic concepts. People should know, I'm hoping, how to create a new vehicle. So we'll start off, but our design decisions at the moment, we're going to try and keep around 20,000 resources, maybe a little bit more, because the ship will be able to gather up a few resources whilst it's building. So we're in build mode now, and the first thing we're going to do is create a new key block. Now this key block is going to be the new vehicle. So we go into inventory, new object, and a new vehicle. Now why am I not doing a fortress? I could do a fortress here, or a structure, but I'm sort of having an idea of why does it need to be a fortress, our ship, our home base. Our home base could be a ship. Doesn't have to be a fortress. There's also some very good advantages of that, in that we haven't got to worry about fortress turbines and it having to have enough power to stay in the air. We can just have it floating. I think that's a good idea. So that is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with a vehicle. So if we click with a vehicle, we now, first time I click this button, we get a nice wooden block. So this is our starting point of the ship, And for those, I'm sure lots of you already know, but for those who don't, the arrow is pointing towards the front of the ship. One of the biggest problems people start off with when they got a ship is they build in the wrong direction and they get their fronts. The front of the ship is not where they expected. So make sure you know which is the front of the ship. So we are going to have to make this resource efficient. So we're going to mainly use wood blocks. So as you can see, material cost of this basic blocks is important here. We are going to have to worry about armor values later, but currently we have a issue with, what should we say, resource amounts. So wood is the most material cost resource efficient. Stone, metal, you can see is 5. So metal is much more resilient, but it's a cost of 5, which we haven't got. You know, light alloy block luckily now has a much better armor value than it used to have. That's much nicer. Still being light though, which is really good. It's actually lighter than wood, but its bit material cost is a bit high. And heavy armor is the most resource hungry, shall we say, resource at 25, but look at that armor, 40. That's what I was saying about another good part about this version 2 is all of these blocks have had their armor values increased in general, which means all of our ships are going to be a little bit more resilient. Now we're going to start off with a base for our vehicle, which I'm just thinking, although it's going to be a ship, it's only going to be that in name, in that it will float, is the primary of this, not necessarily that it is a mobile ship, although it will be able to be mobile. It's going to have a propeller and rudder, but that's not its primary. Its primary is just to be a big platform that everything is going to sit on, which means we can also make this a flat-bottomed ship. Whereas normally with ships I like to make a nice hull and a nice keel to it and a nice shaped hull. I think we'll just go with a flat bottomed ship. So what are the primary things we're going to need to install on this? We'll do weaponry later. I have a new idea for weaponry. I also want to make this sort of like a port, a harbour, a floating harbour to build ships, as well as have all of the power creation and structures, etc. Now, first thing I'm thinking is this: we're going to need some buoyancy. So we're going to have to start off with a this section is going to be, I think, primarily underwater. So we'll have possibly, yeah, a couple of sections which are going to be effectively underwater. We'll quickly use the... You'll notice that it's always get some people. I tend to move between using the F3 key version and the mouse version of building. I've always done that, and it's not like one is better than the other. I use them at different times for different reasons. You know, sometimes it is better to use the mouse movement, the mouse building option, and then sometimes it's better to use the key option, in my view. Some people just almost exclusively use the key based system, and some just exclusively use the mouse. I tend to move between the two of them, and you know, each to the right. So okay, now we have a basic floating structure. If I do that, that should just float. That will just float in the water. Now on top of this, I can start building the rest of our ship. So I'm going to build up the structure and then come back in a little bit once I've got some I've increased the basic elements of the new vehicle, our new harbour, when I'm ready to place some of the other construction parts such as the engines, etc. So see you in a little bit. Hello and welcome back to the current stage of what I'm calling the Mulberry Port, and as you can see it's got a central tower, which is where my little character is currently residing. If we go inside, has a little controller and some dials. One of the elements I like to make sure in all my ships is it's all, you can navigate to all of the places which are have anything constructive in it, you know, either working AI, etc. So we can go down the little stairs at the back from our control center and have a look around. So at the back here, this is our large building area for large ships, and down each side we've got a few smaller areas for smaller ships or medium-sized ships. Again, at the front we have one more for slightly larger vehicles. Then we've got the main tower, which takes us down into the main area of the vehicle. So we've got some steps down, obviously having doorways. The AI is directly above us at the moment. I'm going to fill this area up. It's slightly more armoured than other areas. Not great amount of armouring, but a little bit of armour. And I'll put some resources, maybe some ammo producers, etc. in this area. So we go down now. At the moment, although this is pumped out, for sake of view I have disabled the option to remove water. So let's just turn that back on again since we're going through this. So under where are we? Under game detail, disable water removal. There we go. So I have re-enabled under options the water removal. As you can see, now this area gets pumped out because of the little water pumps. And then finally down below, down below, we'll go into the last little area, which is basically our materials storage area and battery for power. I like using battery powers where possible. I find it more interesting. So okay, well, we'll just make our way back up the top for the moment. Close the doors. Got to keep the doors watertight. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to sink, but it's certainly a good idea. Also, having the doors, I believe, has an effect when you've got the repair bots. Because if the repair bots have a way to get into an area with a door, they'll be quicker at repairing rather than waiting for the timeout. But and that does remind me, I have not put any repair bots on here at the moment. So this is a wider view. Bit of a radar on the top. Now, one thing you'll notice, no weaponry at the moment, because I have a plan. I have an idea what I would like to have a look at. I also have no power production. If we look at our current usage, we've got some battery power which is slowly draining away, but no actual energy production. So I'm gonna have to put a small little engine and possibly a steam engine in the second part in this area here. So this will be a steam engine, maybe also a little emergency petrol engine as well. And also, because of the petrol engine, we'll have to put a little fuel refinery in there as well, just to complete that off. So that's what we're going to do next, and also look at steam engines just in general. So what we're going to do is at the front of here we'll have a small steam engine. Now we'll just use the big steam engine boilers, I think. So under steam you have small and large, and this very much comes down to the efficiency and size. Now, to be honest, these small steam engines have a good use in that they gain pressure in the boilers a little quicker, but have a lower overall, from what I can tell, an lower overall pressure, which is important once you're after efficiency. So we're going to go for a large one at the moment because we just have a nice little large steam area here. Now The other part of this is gearboxes and generators. The gearbox is what converts the movement of cranks into pure engine power, and we're going to need one of those. And what we're going to do is, I think we're going to go for a bit of steampunky here. Yeah, why not? Let's have something a little unusual, so it's going to stick out a little bit, just for visual why nots. This is mostly not the best way to do a steam engine, because it's going to be... I'll build something over the top of it afterwards. Right, now we're going to put the crank in, and we're going to have, say, six cranks in this, and then down below, so we've got the little cranks there, and then we're going to have the pistons, 4-meter pistons, going to go up into those areas. Now I might just have to, let's get it the right way around. I think I'm going to have to, is that going to connect? Oh yes, it will connect, except haven't got room to put the steam to the back of it, but we'll sort that out in a second. So that's our 6 steam cranks. We'll make a room underneath to pipe in the steam. There we go, so we've got 6 cranks there. So what I'm going to be producing here is not electricity. I'm going to be producing kinetic energy. So it won't charge up the batteries, basically. But we'll sort that out in a while, because we will produce another steam engine which will just do the batteries, I think. So let's see, what sort of size boiler do we need? Now we can either do this as a split 3-3 with a large boiler, or have one boiler that does all of them, and I think I'll go for the one boiler that does all of them, actually. So first thing we're going to need to do a boiler of large size is going to be a steam control. Steam control basically controls the boiler. Now I think I'm gonna need to, let's just go up here, put that in, there we go. So this will control how much material the boiler burns every segment, every second. Then on the back of it we're going to put the main boiler. Make sure I've got that right way around. Yeah, that looks okay. So right, we're going to put it up there, so it's going to be 8 boilers. And we're going to set this to a very low 0.1 speed for the moment for the boiler. Right, it has no steam pipes, so now we have to put the steam pipes going to our pistons. So we go in here, steam piping. Now first thing we're going to need is a little corner pipe to go down, and then through a side. Now actually what I'm doing, I want to put a vent in here as well, so let's change that to a 3-way. There we go. Then we'll put a corner pipe in here. Then we need a 2-meter pipe, because you now have pipe lengths, which is handy. 4 and a 2. Then we go down a corner pipe again to go just underneath, and then we're going to need one underneath as well. There we go. And then some 3-ways to join up to each of the pistons. So the last one, which will just need a corner pipe, and there we have motion. I think I'm going to have to get rid of that block because it doesn't look right. Actually, that one can go back. And we'll get rid of that, but replace it with there, and then we'll do the same for the other side. There we go, that looks a little nicer. And just have to, I think we'll put some, because there'll be metal, definitely some, see how high is that? Is that 2 beam? 2 looks about correct, yeah. Just put some along there, just to give a bit of a back to those steam boilers. And finally, we can actually put a block, a beam back in there. So down we have, and you can see down on the right hand side on our menu, we now have engine power being created of about 1800 by the looks of it. And don't forget, at the moment our steam is going straight out, so I want to complete this section as well, because this is going to be our vent. Steam piping, we'll put a pipe on the end of that. In fact, we'll put 2 2-meter pipes, and then we'll put a vent on the end of that. And we'll put some, well, actually we'll need a hull pipe actually there. There we go, and we'll put a piece of pipe on the end of that. Oh no, that is okay. Now that's going to have to come out of the building, I think, a little bit. Yeah, we'll put a 4 meter on the end of that. And then we'll put our pressure vent on the end. Now the pressure vent stops this building up. So at the moment, if we set our pressure vent to, say, we'll maximise it so it shuts off. Now what should be happening is, at the moment we're okay. We must be going to see that these will start to increase. At the moment we've got a speed of 207. So if these increase too fast, start spinning too fast, they will start to basically destroy themselves. Now we need to find out what pressure that starts at. So if we increase the pressure a little bit, the amount of material that's being produced, we can keep an eye on the pressure. So we're up to a pressure of 200 and our speed is 400. So we need to look at what is the pressure at which point it starts to destroy itself. We want to be a little bit below that. So we're 280. 300. Let's really get that pressure up. Let's really get that pressure up. There we go. That's going up quite fast now, as you can see. So that's 400 is getting us to 900. So I'm guessing we're going to be around the 800 mark would be maximum. We don't want to be at maximum, but look at that. It's lovely. Lovely. I think actually with this sort of speed would be quite adequate. 1200. Let's take that pressure down again now. Let's take it to half. And that's actually bringing the pressure down actually, so that's quite good. But we'll set the 600, we'll set the pressure release at. So if we now let this go above 600 again, we should see it open up once the pressure reaches about 600. There we go. Now on its own it is not enough to stop this overspeeding. As you can see, the pressure is still building, so we would need more vents on this. So what we can do is do this. Put another two-way. We'll put a two-way, let's see, three-way on there. and then put 2 pressure vents either side. See if that gives us enough. And we'll put one at 600, and we'll put this one at 650. Let's see if that will... It is still going up, but I think what we'll do is we'll juice this down, and you can hear the engines actually receiving damage. So we'll set this down to really low at the moment because we don't need as much power. It's just to show how it works, and hopefully these are blowing off steam, and we'll eventually close off once the pressure has got to a normal level. Now we'll have to build something around this, obviously, because we've now put this in place, but it doesn't look very nice, so we'll have to build a little steam engine house around this to protect it. So I'll do that in a little while. Somewhere sort of yeah, sort of like that, I think. That sort of scale, I think. Put a door in the front, and we'll put some, make it look nice, armour up a little bit on the side, but not too heavy. So the only other side we're not doing now, we're not producing anything for our batteries. So what we're going to do is create another small steam engine, which is going to have purely for battery power. So that is basically going to use, and we do a small steam engine. So if we do a small steam control, similar to where we had this one, there we go, and we're going to put some small boilers on the end. Take it to about, well, that's a bit far actually, yes. Let's take it to about there, yep. And we'll put a pipe on the end. Whoops, a corner pipe. Now we haven't got to worry about pressure on this. Actually, we want as much pressure as possible. And we will take it along to about, yeah, we'll have it going down here. That looks about right. Another corner pipe. Now we're going to put our steam in, our turbine just here. Now the turbine, we use a small turbine, has a number of sections: a front, a middle, and an end, and the generator itself. So you actually need them not quite in the order I sometimes work. So we put the end on here, and then a middle, and then a front, and then we put the generator. And as you can see, that is now creating 700 energy points. So that is producing power purely for the battery. So it's producing 600, going up to 700. As this volume pressure increases, so this generation amount will increase as well. Now putting a second turbine doesn't have an effect. So there we go, couple of little steam engines. Now one thing I will do here is I want to put some controls down, because the only problem with steam engines is, as you can see, it's boiling, it's burning materials, even though I don't need it to at this second. So we're going to put, first of all, we're going to do is we're going to put a couple of control blocks here, and also over here. And what we can do on the control blocks, the first one we can do is say, right, so basically if your battery is full, you don't need any power. So we go into, when battery is above, say 99. Now we need the range to be about 3. I think we should be alright. Boiler find the boiler down here. Boiler, set boiler to 0. So now you'll see here, this is now set to 0, and our boiler pressure is slowly going down. Now it's still going to produce some energy for a while, and then we need the opposite. So if we set the range to 4, if the battery power, where are we? Battery power goes below a set figure. So what should we say? Let's say it's using the battery power. Let's say if it goes below, say 50%. If it goes below 50, then the boiler, set the boiler effect to, we'll just do 0.5, I think would be enough. So that will turn it back on again if the system starts using battery power. Let's just check what is this got set as well. No, that's fine. And we can do a similar effect on these using power fractions. But what I tend to do is we might just do it slightly differently on here. What can we do? Power fraction. When power fraction, let me just make sure that that is correct. I might actually do this differently by saying, look, if you can also do this on the battery. So if you want the batteries to be used first, and this just backs up the battery. So let's say, again, if the battery, where are we? Battery power, lost it again. When battery is above 90%, range of 3, boiler, set boiler to 0.1. You can even set it to 0, but I'm going to have it at 0.1. So it's always in the, because I like the idea of it moving around basically. And then to speed it up, if the battery, if the battery starts getting used, we will have this start up as soon as possible. So if a battery is below, say we'll have this kick in at, say, let's say 70%. Boiler, set the boiler fraction to 0.5, I think was okay. So you can see at the moment this uses a lot of material, 1.1 materials per second, and that's only using, well, it's actually using 0, so maybe I should turn that off. Let's have it so that it actually goes to 0. So when the battery's full, we'll set it a little higher. If the battery's above 95%, then this goes to 0. You can see the pressure is disappearing off, and it will then start using some battery power instead. Cool. Okay, so that's our steam engines for the ship, and I think we'll stick with the steam engines. We will need some fuel engines, and I'll possibly do that in another time. So let me just build that house here, and then we will bring this into the campaign. Hello and welcome back to the campaign mode, where there's been a bit of a gap between me doing the building and this video, primarily because I lost a lot of the video in editing. So this is a bit of a redo, and we're missing a chunk of information, but generally this will show you where I have got to with our Mulberry port. So we have destroyed the original starter port and replaced it with the Mulberry with a few changes. So basically, armament wise, we're still going to have a chat about or ideas about armaments, but we've put a few cannons and simple weapons on there just for local defences, and we've put some good detection systems on here, because I think I'm going to use this mainly as a detection platform which other ships use to do their detection. Sorry, to do their targeting using the detection from the main vessel. Little bit of a secure area for our steam engine and all our pistons, so they get less chance of a bit of damage. But overall, the main element is going to be, we don't want this to be hit. But this is the current state. Now, the starter rib, I did keep it and change it a little bit and give it a little bit of armour, and this is the start of our drones. So these two are docked onto the port, but if any enemy comes in range, they will release and then go hunting themselves. So that is the general idea I'm going to use for this particular port. Is it won't be offensive itself. We will give it some drone ships, some small, some larger, which it will then use to defend itself against any enemy that comes up. It has ended up being a little bit more expensive than previously expected, so 44,000 instead of the 20,000. Yeah, there's just no way I was going to keep to the original sizing. But that's still not too bad size-wise, you know. It's 4,000 blocks, so it's about double the size, but we've got a lot of wooden and space areas here and docking ports, which are don't have any actual tactical value. They just look good, and I quite enjoy having them laid out like that. So decoration blocks, effectively, you know, they're there because they look good. Right, next stages we'll be looking at some additional drone ships to actually defend this base now before the enemy comes knocking on our door. And looking at the map, we have got some, although he's not on the way to us at the moment. That guy there, I'm reckoning, will at some point be coming towards us. And we've got a big 93 area in these areas, so we have to start thinking about a few defences as such. Thank you for watching the video at this time. As always, give it a thumbs up if you can, and next video will hopefully be up relatively shortly, and we'll, as I say, possibly look at some shipbuilding and some basics about shipbuilding and a small little frigate, I think, or such like. But until next time, keep playing and have fun.